Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters in Christ, today I want to talk about something that touches the very heart of our journey through life. I want to talk about learning to enjoy every minute of your life and choosing to be happy now. Too often we find ourselves waiting for some future moment to grant us joy, waiting for success, waiting for the right opportunity, waiting for everything to be perfect. But life is not tomorrow, it is not someday, it is here and it is now. Each breath, each heartbeat, each sunrise is a gift from God, and yet we let these sacred moments slip through our fingers because we are too distracted by what we don't have or by what has already passed. The truth is, happiness is not hidden in the future, nor locked away in the past. It is found in the present moment, when we choose to see with eyes of gratitude and live in the fullness of God's blessing. When we talk about happiness, so many people imagine it as something waiting for them somewhere down the road. They think, when I achieve this goal, then I'll be happy. When I get that promotion, then I'll be happy. When I get married, when I have enough money, when I solve this problem, when life finally becomes perfect, then joy will finally come into my life. But life doesn't work that way. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. The future is uncertain. The only moment you and I truly hold in our hands is the one we are living right now. And if we keep postponing joy, if we keep pushing happiness into a future that never comes, we end up living an entire life where happiness is always out of reach. The truth that we often miss is that happiness is not a faraway destination. It is not something you stumble upon one day when the stars align. Happiness is a choice you make in this very moment with what you have, where you are, and who you are. This is not to say that life is easy or that challenges disappear if you just smile. Life brings pain, struggles, disappointments. But even in the storms, you are given the power to decide how you will respond. Will you allow difficulties to rob you of the present? Or will you choose to find light even in the shadows? The Apostle Paul wrote letters of joy from a prison cell. He did not wait for his chains to be broken before he rejoiced. He chose joy where he was in the moment he was living. That same choice belongs to you. It means happiness does not depend on everything being perfect. It depends on where your heart is and what you decide to see in this moment. So many people look at life through the lens of not yet. They say, I'll be happy when this happens. I'll be content once I have that. And because of that, they miss the blessings that God is pouring into their lives right now. They don't see the breath in their lungs as a miracle. They don't see the sunrise as a gift. They don't see the smile of a loved one as a treasure. They are so focused on the future that they become blind to the present. But if you truly want to live a life of joy, you have to train your heart and your mind to see the beauty in the now. Right here, right now, you are living a moment you will never live again. You will never get this hour back, never get this day back, never relive the season. And if you don't choose to embrace it, to enjoy it, it will slip away like sand between your fingers. The choice for happiness in the present also means breaking free from the chains of regret. Many people live trapped in the past, replaying their mistakes, reliving their failures, and carrying bitterness for what could have been. But the past is gone, it cannot be changed. To keep your eyes fixed on yesterday is to waste the blessing of today. Others live enslaved to anxiety about the future, always worrying, always fearful, always waiting for the next problem. But when you do that, you rob yourself of the joy of this moment. The secret to a life of happiness is not waiting for tomorrow to be better. It is making the decision today to see the good, to receive the gift, to walk in the blessing of God's presence. Think about it. Every single day of your life is filled with small opportunities for happiness, but they are easy to overlook. The laughter of a child, the kindness of a stranger, the beauty of nature, the simple act of being alive. These are the threads that weave true joy. Happiness does not have to be built on something grand or extraordinary. It can be found in the smallest of moments when your heart is tuned to gratitude. When you choose happiness now, even in little things, it becomes a habit, a way of seeing the world. Suddenly, joy is not something you are chasing. It is something you are living. And here's the profound truth. If you cannot choose happiness in the present, no matter how much you achieve in the future, you will still be empty. Because happiness is not about having everything, it is about appreciating what you already have. It is not about waiting for circumstances to change, it is about changing your perspective. You are the one who decides whether this moment will be filled with joy or filled with dissatisfaction. The power does not belong to your situation, it belongs to your heart. When you shift your thinking, when you stop waiting for a someday that may never come, you begin to live fully. You begin to realize that every minute is precious, that every second is a gift you cannot afford to waste. You begin to wake up with a sense of purpose, knowing that even if the world around you is not perfect, the presence of God in your life makes this moment valuable. Happiness, therefore, is not about external conditions, but about internal choices. It is not about what you lack, but about what you already have. It is not about tomorrow, but about today. Gratitude is one of the most powerful forces that can transform your life, yet it is one of the most overlooked. We live in a culture that constantly tells us we need more in order to be happy. More money, more success, more possessions, more recognition. And because of that, so many people walk through life with blinders on, unable to see the blessings already surrounding them. Gratitude is the key that unlocks the door to joy, because when your heart is thankful, even the smallest moments become treasures. The problem is not that our lives lack blessings. The problem is that our eyes have not been trained to see them. Gratitude teaches us to open our eyes and recognize the good that God has already placed in our path. Think about it. You woke up this morning, which means you were given another chance to live, another opportunity to grow, another moment to experience life. That in itself is a miracle. But how often do we take it for granted? We move through the hours of the day without stopping to acknowledge the gift of life itself. Gratitude slows us down. It causes us to pause and say, Lord, thank you for this moment. Thank you for this breath. Thank you for what I do have. And in that act of thanksgiving, joy begins to rise within us. Gratitude transforms ordinary minutes into sacred ones. A meal becomes a blessing. A conversation becomes a treasure. A walk in the sunlight becomes a celebration of God's creation. The truth is, joy and gratitude are inseparable. A grateful heart cannot remain empty, because gratitude shifts your focus from what is missing to what is present. Without gratitude, your mind will always be restless, always chasing the next thing, always unsatisfied with the now. With gratitude, however, your heart is filled with peace because it sees value in what already exists. The glass is no longer half empty, nor even half full, it is overflowing. Gratitude is a lens that changes how you view the world around you. Where others see problems, you begin to see possibilities. Where others see burdens, you see blessings. Where others see lack, you see provision. Scripture tells us, "And everything give thanks, for this is the will of God." Notice it does not say, "for everything," but everything. That means even in hardship, even in trials, even in those moments when life feels heavy, there is still something to be grateful for. Gratitude in the midst of difficulty does not deny the pain, but it recognizes that God's hand is still at work. It reminds you that you are not abandoned, that you are not without hope, that even in the valley there are streams of living water to sustain you. When you learn to give thanks in every situation, joy becomes unshakable because it is no longer tied to circumstances, but to your perspective. So many times we think joy comes from waiting for the extraordinary, but gratitude reveals that joy is already present in the ordinary. You don't need a life free of problems to experience joy. You need a heart full of thanks. Gratitude magnifies what you have instead of magnifying what you lack. That's why two people can go through the same situation and experience it completely differently. One sees only despair, while the other finds reasons to rejoice. The difference is not in what they have, but in what they choose to focus on. Gratitude is that choice. It is the discipline of training your heart to see the fingerprints of God in every detail of life. Consider how gratitude affects your relationships. A grateful spouse cherishes the little acts of love instead of complaining about what is missing. A grateful parent finds joy in the messy moments of family life because they realize those moments are fleeting. A grateful friend values presence over perfection, knowing that companionship itself is a gift. Gratitude softens the heart, removes entitlement, and strengthens bonds. Where there is gratitude, joy flows not just within you but through you, blessing the people around you. Gratitude also shifts your relationship with yourself. Many people live in constant comparison, always measuring their worth against someone else's highlight reel. They feel inadequate, never good enough, never measuring up, but gratitude silences that voice of discontent. Gratitude says, I may not have everything, but I have something worth thanking God for. Gratitude says, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Gratitude says, what I have is enough for today. And when you begin to see yourself through that lens, joy rises from within you, not from the approval of others, but from the recognition of your God-given value. Even science confirms what Scripture has already revealed, that gratitude leads to greater happiness, lower stress, stronger health, and deeper satisfaction in life. It is not just a spiritual principle, it is a universal truth built into the design of creation. Gratitude rewires the brain, opening your eyes to positive experiences and allowing you to dwell on what is good instead of what is missing. In other words, gratitude does not just make you happier, it trains you to see happiness everywhere. And so, if you want to unlock true joy, you must begin with a thankful heart. Don't wait for everything to align before you choose gratitude, because joy does not come from perfect circumstances. Start with what you have right now, no matter how small. Give thanks for the breath in your lungs, for the people who care about you, for the lessons you've learned, for the strength that carried you through trials, for the beauty that surrounds you even in the simplest forms. The more you give thanks, the more your heart expands, and the more joy you experience in the everyday moments of life. Worry is one of the greatest thieves of joy. It creeps into the mind, settles into the heart, and steals away the beauty of the present moment. Many people live in a constant state of anxiety about what tomorrow may bring, carrying fears of things that may never even happen. They lie awake at night thinking about problems that don't yet exist, rehearsing scenarios in their heads, imagining disasters, and creating storms in their minds long before they arrive. And while they are busy living in tomorrow, they miss the gift of today. Worry does not empty tomorrow of its troubles. It only empties today of its strength. It robs you of peace, of joy, and of the ability to see the blessings right in front of you. Jesus spoke clearly about this when he said, "Do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own." That was not just advice, it was a command. He knew that worry enslaves the soul and blinds us to God's presence. When you worry, you are trying to live in a place you have not been given, the future. God has given you today, and only today. Tomorrow is in His hands. When you let go of worry, you are not being careless. You are being faithful. You are declaring that your trust is in God, not in your own ability to control the future. The tragedy of worry is that it makes you live life twice. You suffer once in your imagination, and then again if the problem actually happens. And most of the time, the things we worry about never come to pass. Studies show that the vast majority of our fears never materialize, yet worry keeps us bound as if chains were wrapped around our minds. Imagine how much lighter life would feel if you stopped carrying the burden of tomorrow and instead focused on the blessings of today. Imagine waking up and choosing to see the sunrise instead of fearing the storm that might or might not come tomorrow. That is the freedom God desires for you. When you worry, you are essentially saying, I don't believe God will take care of me. Worry is the fruit of misplaced trust. It is looking at the uncertainties of the future and assuming that God will not be there. But faith says, I don't know what tomorrow holds, but I know who holds tomorrow. Faith says, I may not see the solution yet, but I trust that God has already gone before me. Faith releases you from the prison of anxiety and brings you into the peace of the present moment. You were never meant to carry the weight of the future on your shoulders. You were created to walk in daily dependence on God, one step at a time, one moment at a time. The enemy uses worry to distract you from your purpose. If he can fill your mind with anxiety, He can prevent you from living fully and in the moment God has given you. Instead of walking in peace, you are stuck in fear. Instead of enjoying the blessings around you, you are fixated on potential problems ahead. Instead of being fruitful, you are frozen. But when you choose to release worry, you take back your joy. You begin to live with clarity, with peace, and with an awareness of God's hand moving in your life right now. Think of the lilies of the field and the birds of the air, which Jesus used as examples. They do not worry, yet they are provided for. The flower does not stress about tomorrow's rain, yet it blooms beautifully today. The bird does not anxiously plan its entire life, yet it is fed each morning. If God cares for the smallest of his creations, how much more will he care for you? Worry blinds you to that truth, but faith opens your eyes to it. Living free from worry does not mean ignoring responsibility. It means handling what you can today and leaving what you cannot control in the hands of God. There is wisdom in planning, but there is bondage in worry. Planning prepares you, worry paralyzes you. Planning looks ahead with trust, worry looks ahead with fear, and fear is the enemy of joy. Fear steals laughter, drains peace, and creates shadows where there should be light. That is why worry must be surrendered daily. Every morning when you rise, you have to make the choice. Will I live in the fear of tomorrow, or will I live in the joy of today? When you release worry, you begin to notice the simple gifts around you. You hear the sound of children's laughter without your mind being clouded by anxiety. You enjoy a conversation without being distracted by fear of the future. You sit in silence and feel peace instead of panic. This is the power of living in the present moment. Worry tells you life will be better later. Faith tells you life is a gift now. And when you embrace that truth, your spirit becomes lighter, your heart becomes freer, and your life becomes richer in meaning. The truth is that you cannot control tomorrow, no matter how much you worry about it. But you can control how you live today. And if you choose to live it with trust, with faith, and with gratitude, you will discover that joy is not something far off in the distance. It is already here, waiting for you to embrace it. True joy is often misunderstood in the world we live in today. Many people equate joy with possessions, achievements, or temporary pleasures. They believe that if they just earn enough money, buy the right house, drive the perfect car, or achieve the recognition they crave, then joy will come flooding into their lives. But deep down, we all know that those things, while they may bring a momentary thrill, cannot sustain true happiness. The shine of material things fades, the applause of people dies down, and the achievements we once longed for eventually feel empty. That is because real joy was never meant to be found in things. Real joy is not about what you hold in your hands. It is about who holds your heart. It is found not in possessions, but in walking with God daily. From the very beginning of creation, humanity was designed to live in relationship with the Creator. Joy was built into that relationship. In the Garden of Eden, before sin entered the world, Adam and Eve walked with God in perfect fellowship. Their joy was complete, not because of what they owned, but because of who they were with. That same truth remains today. Joy flows out of the presence of God. The more you walk with Him, the more you dwell in His presence, the more your heart overflows with joy that the world cannot give and cannot take away. Walking with God daily means more than attending a service once a week or praying only when trouble comes. It is about cultivating a constant awareness of His presence in every part of your life. It means inviting Him into your thoughts, your conversations, your decisions, and even your struggles. When you do this, you begin to see life differently. The pressures of the world do not crush you as easily because you are not standing alone. You are walking hand in hand with the One who created the heavens and the earth. The disappointments of life do not drain you completely because you are rooted in something deeper than circumstances. You find yourself strengthened, uplifted, and filled with joy, even when life is not easy. Think about the words of the psalmist. In your presence is fullness of joy. Not just a little joy, not just occasional joy, but fullness of joy. That means the joy you are searching for cannot be bought. It cannot be manufactured. It cannot be found in the approval of others. It can only be found in God. Everything else is a shadow, a temporary illusion compared to the fullness He offers. The closer you walk with Him, the more you discover that His joy is steady, unshakable, and eternal. The world's joy depends on circumstances. When things go well, people feel happy. When things fall apart, their happiness disappears. But God's joy is different. It is not based on the temporary, it is rooted in the eternal. Paul the Apostle experienced this when he wrote letters of encouragement and joy while sitting in a prison cell. His chains did not steal his joy, because his joy was not anchored in his freedom, but in his faith. He had discovered the secret of walking with God daily. No matter what the circumstances looked like, God's presence was his source of joy. So many people chase after what they think will make them happy, yet when they attain it, they still feel empty inside. Is the echo of a soul that was made for God but is trying to be filled with something less. It is like trying to quench thirst with salt water. The more you drink, the thirstier you become. The things of this world were never meant to satisfy the deepest longing of your heart. Only the presence of God can do that. And when you experience it, when you truly walk with Him day by day, you discover a joy that is deeper than pleasure, stronger than sorrow, and more lasting than any temporary thrill. Walking with God also changes how you respond to trials. When you are disconnected from Him, trials can feel overwhelming, crushing, and hopeless. But when you are walking with Him daily, you begin to see those trials as opportunities for growth, as places where His strength can be revealed. You learn to trust that He is with you in the fire, that He is guiding you through the valley, and that His joy can sustain you even when everything else is shaking. This does not mean life will be free of pain, but it means your heart will not be consumed by it. You will carry joy even in the midst of tears, because His presence is enough. Joy in walking with God is not passive. It requires intention. You must choose daily to turn your heart toward Him, to quiet the noise of the world, and to open your spirit to His leading. This might look like starting your morning in prayer, taking time throughout your day to thank Him, or seeking His wisdom before making decisions. These small acts of connection weave His presence into every part of your life, and as you do, joy becomes the natural overflow. You begin to live with peace when others are anxious, with hope when others are discouraged, and with joy when others are empty. This is why true joy cannot be found in things. The car eventually breaks down, the house eventually ages, the applause eventually fades, but God remains. His presence does not waver, His love does not fail, and His joy does not run out. The secret to a life of joy is not in chasing after what the world promises, but in walking daily with the one who is the source of life itself. Every moment of life carries within it a sacredness that we often overlook. We rush through our days, planning for the future, replaying the past, and missing the miracle of the present. But if we stop and think about it, every second we live is a gift that will never come again. The moment you are living right now is unique, unrepeatable, and precious. To live as if every moment is sacred is to recognize that time is not something to waste or take for granted. It is to see each breath, each heartbeat, each conversation, and each sunrise as holy ground entrusted to you by God. When you live with this awareness, life takes on a different meaning. Suddenly, ordinary routines become extraordinary. A meal at the table with your family becomes more than food, it becomes fellowship. A walk outside becomes more than exercise, it becomes communion with the Creator who painted the sky and formed the earth. Even the simple act of waking up in the morning becomes a miracle because it means God has given you another day, another chance to live with purpose. Every moment, whether joyful or difficult, carries with it an opportunity to encounter God, to grow in faith, and to live fully. Too often, we live as though time is unlimited, as if tomorrow is guaranteed. We postpone joy, we delay gratitude, we hold back words of love, and we tell ourselves there will always be more time. But the truth is, we don't know how many days we have. Life is fragile, time is fleeting, and every moment matters. When you live as if each moment is sacred, you stop putting off happiness for another day. You stop saying, I'll be happy when things are better, when I have more, when I reach that goal. Instead, you begin to embrace the gift of now. Living each moment as sacred also changes the way you see others. Instead of rushing past people, you begin to notice them. You see the value in their presence, the worth in their story, the beauty in their existence. A simple conversation with a friend becomes something you treasure. A smile from a stranger becomes a reminder that kindness still exists in the world. Every person you encounter is someone created in the image of God, and every interaction carries with it the chance to reflect His love. When you live with this perspective, relationships deepen, kindness grows, and love becomes a natural expression of your life. This perspective also transforms how you respond to challenges. When life is hard, when circumstances weigh heavily on you, it is easy to feel like the moment is wasted or meaningless. But when you live as if every moment is sacred, even struggles become purposeful. You recognize that God can use even pain to shape you, teach you, and draw you closer to Him. You stop seeing hardships as interruptions and start seeing them as part of the sacred journey. Every trial becomes an opportunity for faith to grow, for character to deepen, and for joy to emerge from the ashes. Think about how Jesus lived. He never wasted a moment. Whether He was teaching multitudes, healing the sick, or sitting at a table with friends, He treated each moment as an opportunity to glorify the Father. Even in moments of weariness, He found time to pray and reconnect with God. His life was marked by presence. He was fully there, fully aware, fully alive in each moment. That is the example we are called to follow. To be fully alive now, not distracted by tomorrow, not trapped in yesterday, but present in the sacredness of today. This way of living also cultivates gratitude. When you see every moment as sacred, you begin to thank God for things you once overlooked. The breath in your lungs becomes a reason for praise. The laughter of a child becomes a song of joy. The challenges you face become reminders of God's strength sustaining you. Gratitude flows naturally when your eyes are open to the holiness of every moment. And gratitude, in turn, fills your heart with joy, because it is impossible to be thankful and discontent at the same time. Living with this awareness also helps you align your priorities. When you recognize that every moment is sacred, you stop wasting time on things that don't truly matter. You stop chasing after what is temporary and begin investing in what is eternal. You start making time for people, for love, for faith, for purpose. You realize that money can be replaced, possessions can be replaced, but time cannot. Each day is a gift, and once it is gone forever. That realization helps you live with greater intentionality, making choices that align with your values and your calling. There is also freedom in this way of living. You stop being enslaved by regret over the past or anxiety about the future. You begin to live fully present in the here and now. The past is behind you, the future is in God's hands, but this moment is yours to live. When you embrace it as sacred, you live with freedom, peace, and joy. You stop waiting for life to be perfect and start seeing that life is already filled with meaning because God is in it. Every moment, no matter how ordinary, becomes extraordinary when you live it with the awareness that it is holy. So many people spend their lives waiting for the right moment to be happy. They say to themselves, when I get the job I want, then I'll finally feel content. When I buy the house of my dreams, then I'll start enjoying life. When I'm healthier, when I'm wealthier, when things are less stressful, when I finally reach that place I've been aiming for, then I'll be happy. But that way of thinking creates a cycle that never ends. Because once you reach one milestone, another one appears. Once you gain one possession, you want a bigger one. Once one problem is solved, another arises. If you are waiting for happiness to arrive someday in the future, you will always be waiting. You will always find a reason to delay joy, and your life will pass by while you are still waiting for the perfect moment that never comes. The truth is, you do not need to wait for someday. You can be happy now. This is the day the Lord has made. That is what the psalmist declares. Not tomorrow, not a year from now, not when everything lines up perfectly, but today. Today is the day you are called to rejoice and be glad in it. This moment is the gift that God has given you, and the only way to honor that gift is to live it with joy. If you wait for the conditions of life to be perfect, you will wait forever because perfection in this world does not exist. Life will always be a mix of blessings and challenges, victories and struggles, joys and sorrows. But joy is not found in the absence of problems, it is found in the presence of God. And because His presence is with you right now, you have everything you need to be happy in this very moment. Think of how often we miss life by living in the future. A parent may miss the joy of their child's laughter because they are too busy worrying about finances. A student may miss the joy of learning because they are too consumed with fear about what career they will end up in. A person may miss the joy of a friendship because they are so focused on where that relationship might go years from now. When your eyes are fixed on what might be, you fail to see what already is. Being happy now means choosing to lift your eyes, choosing to be present, choosing to see the beauty that surrounds you in this moment. Happiness is not hidden in tomorrow's promises, it is planted in today's soil. It grows when you water it with gratitude, when you nourish it with faith, and when you protect it from the weeds of fear and doubt. Every day holds moments of joy if you are willing to look for them. The warmth of the sun on your face, the laughter of a friend, the quiet comfort of God's presence in prayer. These are treasures you can hold now. You don't need to wait for something bigger to arrive because happiness is already available to you in the ordinary. This way of living also requires letting go of regret. Many people live trapped in the past, dwelling on mistakes and disappointments, and because of that, they cannot embrace the joy of now. But if you are always looking back, you cannot move forward. The past cannot be changed, but this moment can be lived fully. Happiness is not found in what has already passed, it is found in what is before you now. Choosing to be happy now means releasing the grip of yesterday and trusting that God's grace has already covered it. It also requires surrendering worry about the future. Anxiety about what might happen tomorrow will always try to steal the joy of today. But Jesus taught us to live one day at a time, trusting that tomorrow will take care of itself. Happiness is not in tomorrow's answers, it is in today's trust. When you choose faith over fear, you create space in your heart for joy to live in the present moment. You stop carrying the heavy load of what if and start embracing the lighter gift of what is. When you live this way, you begin to realize that joy is not dependent on circumstance at all. It is not something given to you by the world, it is something God places within you. The Apostle Paul, even in chains, declared that he had learned to be content in all circumstances. That kind of joy cannot be postponed for a future season. It is a choice made in the now. If Paul could rejoice from a prison cell, you can rejoice in the middle of your own struggles. Happiness is not about where you are, but about how you choose to see where you are. Choosing to be happy now also shapes how you spend your time. When you realize that joy is a present decision, you stop wasting time waiting for perfect conditions. You start saying yes to moments that matter. You laugh more, you love deeper, you give thanks more often. You begin to see interruptions, opportunities, and ordinary days as miracles. You discover that happiness is not something far away. It has been with you all along, waiting for you to notice it. This is why Scripture calls us to rejoice today. Not because life is perfect, but because life is a gift. Not because everything is easy, but because God is with us. Not because tomorrow will not have challenges, but because today is filled with blessings. When you stop waiting for someday, when you stop postponing joy, you step into the fullness of life that God intends for you. Every moment becomes an opportunity to celebrate, to give thanks, to live with joy. And the more you practice choosing happiness now, the more you realize that joy was never about circumstances. It was about perspective, about trust, and about living fully in the day the Lord has given you.